Are there lessons Africa could teach the world in respect of conflict management, especially as it concerns the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine? Recall that on the 28th of February, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy was publicly humiliated at the Oval Office by President Donald Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance of the United States. This forms the basis of our discussion today on Conversation with Azu, our weekly diary on life and politics, published on the back page of Leadership Newspaper. And as I said earlier, it's aptly titled African Lessons Zelenskyy May Use in Ukraine. Azu, the award-winning columnist, joining us live on Zoom, discuss what he has written and his insights into his conflicts and the fallout of the Ukrainian president visits the United States. You're welcome to Conversation, Azu.
Thanks for having me once again, Julius.
All right, I will start with these straight away. You used, I don't know whether to call it an antithesis or an oxymoron. You said you want President Zelenskyy not to turn a dangerous enemy into a fatal friend. What do you mean?
Oh, well, that's actually a slight modification of a statement, of an expression by Henry Kissinger, one of American oil greats, former national security advisor and the top member of the Nixon administration, and was a great man in terms of foreign policy. He was actually, to him belongs the credit, although that was not exactly how he put it. But the point is that as far as the war between Russia and Ukraine is concerned, it may be a game for the US, but for Russia, it's a matter of life and death. And so it's not a game at all. I don't know what Zelensky thinks it is, but it's obviously not a game as far. You recall, as I also said in my column, that the mood and general tendency in Ukraine at the time he took over was against joining NATO. That was the mood, but the president at that time, who sort of reflected that mood, was removed. And he was installed to do the bidding of the West. I think that as far as America is concerned, what America is looking for in this war is not what the Ukrainians. I mean, what Zelensky is doing does not reflect the general sentiment among the ordinary, Ukrainians who are dying in their hundreds. And as I said, it may just be a game for America, but for Zelensky, but for Russia, it's a matter of life and death.
And in your column, you argued that Trump and his deputy are probably looking for a convenient excuse to abandon Ukraine. But the USA is part of NATO, the alliance that drove Ukraine to war. So why would the US abandon NATO, Ukraine, in spite of the fact that there are several former Soviet republics that have joined NATO?
Well, again, I think this reminds me, if it's interesting what Trump said yesterday, although people would argue that it's difficult to define, and you cannot define American long-term policy from the 4-year presidency of Donald Trump, because it's you never really know. But the fact of it, I mean, Trump said yesterday, and we have to respect the fact that he's the current American president. He said that when people were asking him questions about Article 5, which is the article in the NATO protocol or charter that says an attack against one NATO member is an attack against all NATO members. And then, of course, they were asking him whether, in the current situation, whether America will go to war if Russia were to attack any European member in Ukraine that's a member of the NATO. And he flipped the question and said, look, do you think that Europe will defend America if if Russia were to attack. But he doesn't. That is, he doesn't. He's the only one who knows the answer. He's the only one who knows the answer. It's which of course was his own way of saying it was improbable. So I mean that's where we are at. What Russia essentially, what Putin requested, which got us to where we are, was to say to Zelensky and the people and the ones before him, when obviously he saw that the West was and NATO was expanding aggressively towards its borders, to say, no, you have to stop. And I just want a commitment from you, from the Ukrainian president or the Ukrainian leadership, that you're not going to be, because that's too close. It's just too close. It's what America or any other European country will not accept. And I think it's just blatantly unfair to foist this on Russia and then blame it on Putin. I think it's unfair. It's just a needless war.
Let's come back home. Okay. Let's come back home to Nigeria, where you referenced the conflict between Nigeria and Cameroon over the Bakassi Peninsula.
Correct.
And I'm imagining that you want Zelensky to take a lesson from that. Yet, former President Obasanjo was accused of, ceding Nigerian territory to Cameroon because he wanted to win the Nobel Peace Prize. It was never a popular decision.
Yes, it reminds me of what the great Nigerian journalist and administrator Babatunde Joseph said, in his book. Said he who, of course, is a common saying that if you fight and run away, he who fights and run away, and of course, lives to fight another day. It's also a popular line from one of Bob Marley's many hits. See, it's not a question at where we are at now. It is not really a question of whether Obasanjo was fought in Nigeria's civil war. All right. Obasanjo has seen wars. All right. He was a military leader, then a civilian leader. I don't think it was an easy decision for him. All right. And of course, as many Nigerians, as those who were pressing him to go to war at that time were saying, many Nigerians, hundreds of thousands of Nigerians were rooted there. And it's an oil-rich peninsula. There really would have been a lot to play for when Nigeria to go to war. Perhaps Obasanjo would have been able to justify it. But you can win the battle, but you lose the peace.
You lose the war.
Yeah, so that really is what I think over 400,000 Ukrainians, including civilians, have died since this war started about 4 years ago. I think it's enough. Enough, really.
Well, talking about international diplomacy as it were, it reminds one of the presidential spokesman recently telling a TV host not to ask him questions like a schoolboy. President Zelensky was publicly humiliated in the United States. Do you think they showed enough respect, like America showed enough respect to a statesman on a state visit?
Well, I think that really was really was a very disastrous outing for all the parties involved. I do not think that I can't remember who was it now. Was it Winston Churchill? Was Winston Churchill that said you can tell a man to go to hell and they still look forward to the trip? And I think it was possible for them to disagree, for the US president and his guest to disagree, but disagree, in a respectable manner. But that was not, it was just not what happened. That shouting match and the blow up was absolutely unnecessary in my view. And the finger wagging was absolutely unnecessary. Yeah, but the thing is, anyone going to visit Trump, you never know what to you never know what to get. I mean, to be honest,
You take what you get.
yeah, so if you are going to visit Trump, you just never know. It might be one of his good days and he might be as nice to you as possible, but it might just be one of those February 28 days and it's as nasty as it really was. And I don't think that that was a respectable way to disagree with an ally.
And finally, from here, you seem to agree with Donald Trump that Ukraine has to give up something. That something
Yes.
has to give.
Yes.
What is that thing to be given in order to
Well,
for the war to end?
Well, it has to be, unfortunately, it has to be land. And you see, the real politics of it is this: is people are looking at what Ukraine might give up to Russia, which it obviously would have to, where we have gotten ourselves in, because um, Russia will not claim all of that territory, including Crimea, and then just pull out and then leave to fight another. That is never going to happen. But we should also keep in mind that Ukraine, part of the reasons why Zelensky visited the White House was also to negotiate what it would give up in mineral rights to the US. So, so, so that's how it goes. When you get into these things, it's either a matter of it's well, maybe not a winner takes all, but the one who has the upper military hand cannot just walk away. So as I also argued in my column, and this is borne out by a fact of history, I say with a heavy heart that Zelensky and Ukraine must be prepared to give up something. That would be the minimum starting point for this negotiation to bear any fruit.
All right, thank you very much. These are just snippets of the column and on the discussion you just listened to. For the full deal, read the topic on the back page of Leadership Newspaper, or visit our website at reshaping.com for more of it. Thanks for coming on the conversation, Arun.
Thanks for having me, and say hi to Azuka. I haven't heard from her for quite a while. Our thoughts are with her, and we hope she's able to join you soon on the program. Thank you.
Bye for now.
Bye bye.